All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Hope you're doing well. This is your host, Hunter McWaters. Today I have a conversation with a guy who's somewhat behind the scenes, but you probably be seeing more and more of him as time goes on. If you're a fan of Gritty and Brian Call, today I'm having a conversation with Brad Hunt. So Brad works full-time with Gritty. He wears a lot of hats over there. He helps Brian with producing the podcasts and social media content, even procuring tags and just anything. He helps some of the film. He does a lot of filming as well. But Brad is a super hardworking guy, a great hunter. You don't necessarily see it as much sometimes in some of the Gritty films, although, like I said, I think you're going to start to see it more. But he's a killer hunter. Got a lot of experience, very hardworking guy. He's got 3 sons, so we talk about his legacy and raising sons, and even talk about spirituality and how he got into working with Gritty, and we just have a great conversation. So Brad's a great guy, very knowledgeable, and I think it'll be interesting for you to kind of get to know Brad a little bit more than you may have on some of the Gritty films. So I've spent some time with him. We got some upcoming hunts together. We mentioned in January a hunt that we're going to do together. Be me and Brian and Ryan and Brad going down to Mexico to hunt Coues deer. Looking forward to that. So yeah, this is a great conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. And let's just jump right in. I do want to remind you, I'd like to thank my partners, and if you need anything from gear-wise before the fall starts, or you want to become an insider and research tools, or get an Explorer membership, they just released a couple new features on their Explorer membership, which are really awesome. There's a range finding tool, as well as a new way to save offline maps that is much better than the competition. No more saving individual patchwork maps for high res. You can go in there and save a huge area of high res map for offline mapping. So I definitely am going to be using GoHunt mapping software this year. So anywhere across the GoHunt platforms, as well as Outdoor Class, you can use the code QUEST and save 20%. And you'll also be supporting the show. You can use that same code, Quest, at Initial Ascent if you need a new pack, or Heather's Choice, or Western Fly. So go ahead and check those out. I got some more discount codes in the description field. And let's just jump into this episode with Brad Hunt. Enjoy. You like my new setup back here?
I do. I like it.
You see this guy?
I wish we had a freaking office. Yeah, I know. I still haven't even shot mine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a rifle hunt right now, so I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, that's like me with my bow. Like, I've barely touched my bow. I still have it's still really set up for Eastern 75. I don't have I don't have
a slider or nothing.
Yeah, it's just a regular pin sight, but I don't have any archery hunts right now. I'm kind of intentionally waiting on the archery hunts till I can get my skills up a little bit,
Right. Yeah, no, they're I don't know, elk are not as bad because you can get away with a lot versus even mule deer and obviously Coues and stuff. I mean, they're so switched on. But
dude, that Coues deer hunt we did was eye-opening, man.
Yeah.
That 8-hour stalk we did on that, and they just left for no reason.
Right. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Most guys don't do that. They aren't willing to do that,
Yeah.
But that's how you get them killed. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. What archery hunts you got lined up?
So Brian and I both have an early, starts August 20th, a mule deer tag. So both of us have tags.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just going to go right into probably
What state is that in?
So that's a Utah draw tag.
Oh, nice.
And then I have my Idaho archery over the counter. Not totally sure what we're doing there yet. Brian has talked about, since he doesn't have anything and he's not going to Alaska, he might just come and film me while Ryan's up there. And then
So Brian's not doing that Alaska thing anymore, huh?
no, I think he's like, you know what, we need to get epic elk content. And
Yeah.
so, and that this is the year for us that's going to be like full head first into archery. Like we want to really compete in the archery market because we can. Like nobody's really seen our skills that
Yeah.
much, you know. We talk
Yeah.
about it and stuff, but so we're gonna dive into that. He's gonna come help me film, or he's gonna film me on that, where it's just gonna be those first 2 weeks of September just on me,
Sweet.
and then we'll reverse roles and go into his Montana hunt, waiting for Ryan to get back, and then I will come home and spend some more time with the wife and kids while he continues to. Hopefully, he can get something killed, and then he can just film Ryan and Livesay and then even Bryce at Peaks. That's
Cool.
kind of what they got going, and then I'm actually gonna do like a 5 or 7 day just OTC mule deer hunt with my dad and brother.
Cool.
So while they go do some other stuff, but that's
Nice,
that's
man.
kind of the plan so far. It's
Are
not set
you
in stone,
are you
but
doing the Montana deer hunt with all those guys?
no, I didn't draw a tag this year.
Okay.
So I probably will end up going and helping film.
Yeah.
But I don't have a tag, sadly. I only got those two mule deer tags, the early archery, and then just the regular over the counter
Nice,
general
man.
Idaho deer. So should
Yeah.
be a good year.
Yeah, I've been thinking I was talking to Brian too about it. I've been thinking about that Montana thing, like just because I know they want to get Mark's son a deer and they want to get Paley a deer, and then obviously, like, people would rather see Ryan and Brian kill a deer than me kill a deer,
Right.
and I have a tag, so I'm thinking about maybe just kind of going my own way on that one.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, we'll see. Mark said he might be able to point me in the right direction on some spots, and then maybe we could figure out some way to, I don't know.
Yeah, I know they have so many tags to fill, and then trying to
I
get the
know.
kids, and
Right.
that's like I know Mark this year really wants to focus on Eli
Yeah.
getting a buck because he didn't last year and stuff,
Yeah.
and with all the bear hunts, he ended up not being able to come with us like
Mhm.
he initially had planned, and then yes, it's there's so much to do. Like,
I know, man.
and trying to get content out right now, and it's like this is the window to do it
Yeah.
between
It's
July
gonna
and
be a good
August.
season though, man. I'm looking forward to January. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It should be. It's gonna be killer. Like
Yeah. Any
can't
word
beat.
on your passport yet?
No, hopefully they told me it'd take 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm
Okay.
hoping.
That's not too bad.
No, I'm hoping it's here sooner than later.
Yeah.
So it's all taken
Jay
care
didn't
of.
seem
But
too worried about it. I think the firearm thing was the bigger deal.
yeah, and that's what I figured because where Brian and I are using the same rifle. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm bringing a separate rifle in. So
Yeah,
I
man.
think that'd be fun.
That'll be a fun hunt, I think. So yeah, man. I just wanted to get you on today. You know, let me just say to the guys listening, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. I'm here with Brad Hunt. We kind of just flowed into that, but Brad, as you probably may know, works with Brian over at Gritty. He helps Brian with producing his podcasts, producing the films, filming the films, photography. What else
Yep.
do you do? Everything.
Yeah, I'm kind of Brian's assistant, especially which he's paying me to do it. So
Yeah.
there's stuff that he doesn't want to deal with, so I end up dealing with it, which is not a big deal. It works out. We work great together.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm a hunter first. I have hunted all my life
Mhm.
and got an opportunity to basically do an internship with Brian starting in 2019. And then kind of from there, we've just progressed. And at the end of last year, I went full time with Brian.
Yeah.
And it's been good. It's busy, but it's been really, really good. And what I like is I do still get to hunt because, like,
Yeah.
I grind out in the office here because I absolutely hate being inside. I hate being in an office, but
Yeah.
I know there are 10 days here, 10 days there. I can still go elk hunt, bear hunt, mule deer hunt. I can still do all the stuff that I normally
Yeah.
would do. And then I just got to grind here in the office to get all our content done. So
Yeah. Speaking of which,
busy.
you got a nice bear this year, huh?
I did, yeah. Yeah, that was, I'm not sure when we're going to release the film on that one. Wasn't as much action as we had planned, but other than grizzly action, we ran into, in the first 24 hours, we had 8 grizzlies
Oh my
that we'd
gosh.
seen. And then we saw 10 total on the trip. We just kept seeing the same grizz over and over. And
Big one.
then, yeah, like we saw some giants and a couple thousand cubs. And then we actually had two juveniles come into camp that I had to
Oh,
shoot
no way.
out of our camp one morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we'd been seeing all these grizz and
Just warning shot with a rifle or?
well with the pistol, so they were less than 40
Okay.
yards.
Oh,
U-
man.
Usually with the llamas, they'll bark and alarm,
Yeah.
and it's usually 3, 4, 500 yards out. Well, we were I mean the sun was just cresting, and it's bear hunting. We're not out of the teepee early. I mean it's like
Right.
we're just out of the teepee like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, this is early, and we thought we heard a faint llama bark. And Mark and I kind of looked at each other. Mark is blind as a bat when he takes his contacts out. You probably know,
Yeah.
like he is blind as a bat. And we kind of looked at each other, and I'm like, I'm not sure if that was a llama or not. And then we heard it again. And so I kind of come out of the teepee I have my boots ready. Like I always tie my boots so my shoelaces aren't dragging, but I can still easily slip my boots on in Grizz country.
Yeah.
And so I slip out with the pistol, I have the 10 mil, and as I come around the corner, there's one llama that I'd staked down. So we had 6 llamas. One of the 3 that I had, I'd staked it down, and it was running
Oh,
to the other
jeez.
llamas. And I'm like, well, that's not right. And I looked up, and sure enough, there were 2 grizz, which juveniles, they're still 200, 250 pounds.
Yeah.
And they are less than 40 yards, and they're standing right where I'd staked that llama down. And so Mark's not even out of the tent yet. And hey, get out of here. And the front grizz stands up and just is looking through me. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this. And juveniles are the worst because you don't know.
Right.
You don't know if it's
They're
a
young
human
and
or
dumb.
whatever. Yeah. And so I shot the stump next to it. And then about 5 seconds later, they finally dropped and took off running. And then we saw them 10 minutes later, 3/4 of a mile up the trail. But it's like, I mean, that was a close situation because they can close that 40-yard distance fast.
Oh, dude, yeah. Was it a little hard to get back to sleep after that?
We stayed up glassing, so it was one of those days that we didn't have rain. I mean, we had out of 21 days I spent in the field this year, I think we had 3 for sure, maybe 4 days that it didn't rain on us. Like it was just nonstop this
The
spring.
hunt I was on with you, yeah, I don't remember a single day. I think maybe the day we hiked in, it didn't rain.
Yeah, yep,
And that was
right.
like it.
Yep. I mean, it has been a very wet spring, and it's been cold, so there's still a lot of snow high, which is for us Western hunters in a lot of areas. That's awesome. I mean, you're going to have good antler growth.
That's what I was going to say. Mark was saying to me the other day, the moisture content out there is really good. He said it's a great antler year in Montana.
Yeah, and I think kind of most of the Western states, you get into southern Utah and stuff, and it's different. But most of these Western states, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, I mean, they've got a lot of high moisture content, and they've got a lot of snowpack. A lot of these areas still have snow back in those basins, and so normally when those elk, like in September, they're high, but a lot of times they're starting to drop because the feed is just not there. It's so dry. Where I think this year, especially Montana and even parts of Idaho, like those elk are going to be super high, which is awesome because less and less people get up there. So it's kind of nice. But yes, but I think it's going to be a great year. So we're excited to go shoot some bucks and some bulls and yeah,
man, I'm looking forward to this year for sure. So a lot of people probably don't know too much about you, and like you said, you're a hunter first, and I saw that by experience hunting coos out in Arizona with you guys last year, and we actually didn't shoot any deer, so that footage will never air or anything, but I was able to film you on at least 1, maybe 2 stalks.
Yep.
So I saw firsthand that you're a great hunter, and but people might not know too much about you because you're a little bit behind the scenes, although that's starting to change a little bit with the bear and stuff like that, which is cool.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people are like, man, I would love to, I wish I could be following Brian around or whatever. And a lot of people don't realize that, you gotta, that doesn't just happen on accident. Like you put yourself in the right areas, you worked hard, you've been around the industry for a long time. So, I'd love to hear just for the listeners, even for myself a little bit, just because I know you've been around and sort of in the industry a little bit. What's kind of your background and how did you link up with Brian and start working with Gritty?
Yeah, so like I said, I've been a hunter first. Like everything I've learned with the exception of the last 3 years, which is I've learned a lot, but I've also been able to input a lot just from my experience. I learned so much from my dad and brother, and growing up as a young kid hunting. I mean, I was from as young as I can remember, 4 or 5 years old. We were always fishing. We were always going out hiking, glassing, and in big country too. It's not small country.
Yeah.
And when I was 10 years old, I called in my first bull elk to my dad.
Wow.
I when I was 8, I kind of picked up some elk calling, just curious, and I think it was an old Wayne Carlton fighting cow call, external reed, and then I kind of started playing with diaphragms and stuff, and that led me through the years of being pretty successful. I killed my first bull elk with my bow when I was 13.
I think you posted a picture of it the other day on Instagram, didn't you?
Yeah, so
That's cool, man.
my birthday's November, so I couldn't hunt when I was turning 12. I wasn't quite 12 yet. So I killed a cow my first year with a rifle. And then through the years, fast forward, so I've killed 16 bulls in the last 20 years, all with the bow. And then I've shot some cows, like on depredation tags here and there, just put meat in the freezer. And then I've shot 6 mule deer with my bow, shot a handful with the rifle, And there are years that I have only been able to hunt, whether it was work or family stuff, because I'm with the wife and 3 kids, and until this job, it was I was working for the railroad or I was doing other jobs, and I didn't have time off. So it'd be like I was a weekend warrior. I'd grind, and I knew that I pushed hard, especially archery hunting, because you can get so much meat out of an elk, and so I would grind super super hard in a 2-day weekend. I might in the whole season of 30 days, I might hunt 3 days. I'm lucky if I can hunt 5 days out of that 30-day season. And so we would go hard. And we didn't ever have an issue finding elk. It's just whether or not you can get a bull killed. And over the years, I've become a little more picky with, I wouldn't say antler size, but age class.
Yeah.
I want to shoot that mature bull, because I've shot a lot of, I've shot 1 spike. Everything else is a 5-point or bigger, which, raghorns or whatever. Nothing huge.
Real quick, just to jump in, you said you never really had trouble finding elk. Is that just because you think you grew up around it and you knew the kind of places they like to go?
Yeah.
Or did you kind of have your spots where you knew there was always elk, or you just learned how to find them?
Yeah, so it's a mixture of both. Knowing where to find elk and how to find elk, and also growing up in areas that elk are around, and it's open country, but I've kind of explored until 2 years ago. I hadn't really hunted out of state except for mule deer. Elk I'd never hunted out of state. And so we kind of focused on a couple spots, and we always try and get away from people. We try and get to those really high backcountry locations that most guys aren't getting to. And it was nothing for us. We would cover, and I'm not being braggy or anything, like we just got after it. It was nothing for us to, in a single day of elk hunting, we'd cover 12 to 14 miles with, 4,100 feet elevation gain. And
that'd be you and your dad and your brother a lot of times?
Yeah. Yep.
So your dad really put that into you.
Absolutely. Like from a super young age, we were always out hiking. And my dad, he's 59 now. And like on our sheep hunt last year, he's 58 at the time. We were 58.6 miles was our total trip in 11 days. And you're gaining about 52 to 5,400 feet, depending on where we got to. And it's straight, and crushed it. 75, 80 pound pack all day long. Wow. And my brother the same way. My brother's a few years older than I am. And he's a killer too. Like nobody hears about it. He doesn't have social. He hates social, all that stuff. But he's a killer. And he's, he same with my dad. I don't know how many. Every year my dad will kill a nice 6-point bull, and so that was ingrained to us. Like you just get after it. You go hunt, and so I think with that it made the transition of working with Brian a lot easier, because I was a hunter first. He's not having to teach somebody how to hunt in camera. And so how it got started there was I was working. We'd met a couple times at like TAC, and I'd been a Gritty fan or whatever, and had met Ryan just briefly, I think in 2018, and Brian as well. And then in 2019, I was working down here in Utah and for the railroad, and I just happened to go into Wild Arrow Archery one day, during the summertime and to pick up some things, and I ran into Brian there. And so I guess kind of to back up, I've been calling for Jason Phelps from Phelps Game Calls for a few years, kind of been talking with them, and they're like, hey, why don't you come film with us and whatever. And I was like, I don't know a dang thing about a camera. And they weren't in a position to teach me how to run a camera either.
Yeah.
And so when I went into Wild Arrow, we got to talking, Brian and I, back and forth. And Brian's like, why don't you come do an internship with me? I can't pay you or anything, but I'll teach you how to run a camera and edit, and I'd love to help you out.
Yeah.
So I would go to work for 10, 11, or 12 hours, depending on the day, and then I would go to Brian's house or the Mountain Ops office for 3 or 4 hours at night. I mean, I had nothing else to do.
Yeah. Were you single at that point still, or?
No, so I was married, but I was
Okay.
on the road. I was working. So on the railroad, I would work 8 days on, and then I'd have 7 days off at home.
Okay.
So I would just happen to be working in a really close
Okay.
location to where
Gotcha.
Brian was.
Gotcha.
So I just go over there after work, do my internship, learn camera, learn film editing, and then I went on a hunt with Brian and his cousin Ben in 2019, just to help kind of film.
Yeah.
And so we did some of that, and I kind of learned in the field some of the camera basics and kind of started rolling there. And then we went to Arizona, and we both killed coos bucks, and we didn't film as much there. It was more like just get it done type thing.
Yeah. Dude,
And
yeah.
then
I understand that.
and then just kept in touch and doing stuff through 2020, and then through 2021, kind of did some project-based stuff. Him and I guess in 2020, we did our archery elk hunt together. And that's the footage that got lost, which was
Yeah. Ugh.
the most epic
I know.
over-the-shoulder archery elk hunting. We have Brian's
The
hunt.
beginning of that series is so cool, and then like
Yeah.
it just never ends or never finishes, and you're like, no.
Right. So we still have the one part of the big bull that I get on. I think we're going to release towards like the end of August, around the 15th of August or 14th, somewhere in there. So that'll come out. So we elk hunted together in 2020, and then through 2021, we did various hunts here and there. I went to hunt with them and Adam Weatherby on the 2021 start of the bear season.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't make the second leg of the trip, and then just did some projects here and there for him and other people throughout the summer last year, kind of working on my own. And then the end of last year went full time with Brian. So that's kind of how it all led into it. It was just, we had the hunting side of it in common, and then he liked the style that I hunted. They got kind of hunted the same way. And, when we had initially talked, and he talked to Ryan about it, and then I got to hunt with Ryan a little bit in Arizona, and then other hunts, obviously. And this year, Ryan and I, we had just a couple hunts. It was just him and I,
Yeah.
and like Kayam, but from Peaks Equipment. But we all hunt really, really similar. We love the spot and stock game, and it's not easy. As somebody that may not know, like yourself, when you came with us to Arizona, I mean, it's a grind when you're doing an all day stock, and you might only move 400 yards in the whole day, but it takes you 8 hours to move 400 yards, and you're like keeping your level below the grass lines, and it's brutal. So that's kind of how it all transitioned to where we are now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that, like, a lot of guys, we were talking about it out there in Arizona. It's like they can't mentally handle the stress of moving that slow for that long.
Right.
And they just want it to end. So it's almost like subconsciously they'll just like move too fast on purpose and blow the deer out and just go back to camp. Because
absolutely.
It sucks. Like
Yep.
sometimes you're sitting there baking in the sun, and then like a cloud rolls over, then you're like freezing to death. And like,
yeah, exactly.
It's so crazy.
Like usually when we're on a stock like that, I mean, elk hunting is a little different because it's a lot bigger country. You're moving a lot more. Same with mule deer. So I usually throw on like a little day pack.
Yeah.
With a jacket, like a puffy coat, a water bottle, and a couple
I learned that after that first stock, but I remember we dropped packs pretty early on that first stock, and I had no water, no snacks, no jacket, nothing. Because in my mind, it's a stock. It's going to be, an hour tops?
Right.
And we end up, away from our packs for probably 4 or 5 hours.
Yep. Yeah, and so, like, take Arizona, for example, on a stock on a coos deer. I don't know if you noticed or not, but when we went to set our packs down, I took a water bottle. I downed a water bottle.
I wish I had.
So I grabbed the water bottle. I downed a water bottle, and I ate a granola bar. And I was like, because one, stalking on a coos deer, like, I don't want a little pack on my backpack. I don't want anything that's going to make noise or going to deter me or not allow me to lay flat on the ground
Yeah.
or expose myself. And so, yeah, I pounded a water bottle, ate a granola bar, and that was it for the day. Like I
Yeah.
was prepared to go stalk until dark. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to be hungry. And the big thing is like getting your body used to that stuff. If you're bent
Hmm.
over that long, that low, knees, flexibility, your back muscles, like
Yeah. That was a
I'm
big
not a,
thing I learned too about was just mobility is
yeah.
like, because I'm pretty strong. I can hike pretty good, but like I'm not the most flexible, and that's a thing that you should work on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Especially when it comes to coos deer. I mean,
Because yeah, Brian
like,
would be like, I saw you stalking, like your butt is like way too high in the air, like get down, and like I was like, my back, I can't. You know?
yeah, I know, and and that's we've done it for years, but we're talking to Ryan and guys like Brian Barney and stuff. They all just say the same thing, and it's like at the end of a stalk, if you are not hurting and sore,
Yeah.
you didn't do it right.
Now, do
And
you actually stretch? Do you work on mobility?
I've always been very, very flexible. From my past, like in high school and just out of high school, I rodeoed. I was a bull rider. I roped and stuff, but I've always, my whole entire life, like I think it's just something I've been pretty blessed with is flexibility. I
Dude,
don't stretch that
you got
awesome.
dealt some good cards because like
Y-
we were talking about before too. You don't really go to the gym, but since you grew up with like basically a bugle tube in your mouth,
Yep,
like you just can hike all day, no problem. But you
yep,
don't work out. You have the flexibility of a Cirque du Soleil athlete.
yep.
Um,
And I call it dumb farmer strength because I mean that's why I grew up ranching and
yeah,
farming and stuff, and it's like I don't go to the gym. I basically despise the gym. I mean I'll go every now and then, but I despise the gym.
yeah,
But if I go and there's something about it. Like I've went to the gym for months or like a year straight and just hammered as hard as I could, and whether it's endurance or lifting heavy or just mobility, whatever it may be. But then I go for a full season of like 100 days or so in the field,
hmm
hiking with an 80-pound pack every day, and going from doesn't matter if I'm 5,000 feet elevation or 10,000 feet elevation, but just hiking those mountains with the heavy
hmm
pack. And I come back to do like a CrossFit workout or go to the gym, and the endurance I get from that does not even come close to me grinding out for 30 minutes as hard as I can go every day in the gym. Like it
yeah.
does not compare.
It's totally different.
It's so different.
Even
And
like same thing coming back from a hunt. I'll go in and do like leg workouts that are like as close to possible of what I can mimic in the gym
hmm
to get the same kind of movement and still the next day I'll have muscle groups that are sore that are completely different that I
right.
used in the mountains.
Yep, right. Yeah, there's
But
just something totally different about packing or hiking with a heavy
yeah,
pack. Like it just doesn't compare. You can't.
farmer strength.
And farmer strength, dumb farmer strength. So like bench
I dropped the
press,
dumb, man. You brought it
you'll
back.
you'll crush me. Everybody will crush me. But when you want to do deadlifts or anything like that, like my legs are always super strong. Have been really strong, and
Yeah.
so I can deadlift or squat with the best of them. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
you want me to do pull ups? No, not happening. I can do
Well,
maybe 5 or 8.
yeah. Well, going back to kind of like the career stuff, I know you were working, like I said, the railroad. I think you're making pretty
hmm
decent money. But either way, it's a steady job.
Yep.
And I know the answer to this, but I want to hear your perspective on it. And like, why? And it could be any other. It could be related to other career fields, but like, why leave a steady, reliable, quote unquote good job to go into outdoor content creation,
hmm
very dynamic, very kind of unstable, like
Yeah.
you don't really
Right.
know what's coming next. It could go bad at any moment. It's not as stable. Like, why take that risk? Why do that?
I think a couple things. One, I know my work ethic, so I'm not worried about making money. Like if I have to, I mean, I can go grind. I can go do construction. Like I grew up, doing construction, farming, running equipment, like with the railroad and stuff, and outside of the railroad. And so I'm never worried about not finding work. Like there are people that even if it's a day job here and there or going to a cattle ranch or whatever it may be, like I'm not worried about finding money. And so that plays a part in it. And then also because like my wife, she's a dental hygienist, but right now she's not working much. You know, she's her goals right now are taking care of the kids at home. So we got 3 boys. She's taking care of the kids at home, and so that was part of it. Jumping in because I know I can find money. The other part of it is I obviously have this large passion for hunting. Like that's who I am in and out. Like that has been me my whole life. And so, and it's nice to leave the corporate world. You know, it's a grind. Like, you know, there are those worries. Like, do I have money? But like I said, with the work ethic and stuff, I'm not worried about finding money. So that plays a huge part into it. And just surrounding yourself with guys that, because there are, I would say, you know, I know a lot of people, but I'm not real close with a lot of people. As the older I get, my circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller, you know, and you start to hang out with those people that are like-minded, that, you know, are the same as you, that have this same personalities or like the same stuff. And, you know, that's Ryan and Brian. Like we've got along really, really well. I mean, we're kind of all the same way, you know, and just going back to the corporate world, like I don't want to do that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I don't know. That was a lot of it, and then being able
Yeah.
to obviously to hunt, you know,
Yeah.
and figuring it out how to do it, and
Yeah.
just
And
things worked out.
there's something to be said about, you know, you said being not worried about money, and, you know, whether you look at it from the perspective, like you were saying, you know, that you can always make money at the end of the day if you need to go out and work somewhere, or if you have, you know, even if you look to, you know, to God as your provider and just kind of have faith in that. I think a lot of what starts us on the path to, you know, going after our dreams or whatever cliche you want to say is not making fear-based decisions, not picking your life path based on having a lack mindset of what if I don't have enough, but
Yep.
having that positive mindset of I'll figure it out, you know, God will provide, I will find what I need to get by, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, there was a time in our life that we had a house, we had cars, we had like I mean at the road, I was making 6 figures,
Yeah.
pretty close to. Great insurance, great benefits, but at the same time, it was like I was gone minimum 17 days a month. The environment of the people that I worked with was like I love those guys, I love the work, but through the union and stuff, you get a lot of guys that don't take pride in their work, that
Yeah.
don't appreciate hard work or whatever. They're just there to collect a paycheck. And so it was not my style.
Yeah.
And so we decided, like my wife was like, hey, let's sell our house. Like, so we sold the house. We became debt free. We traveled around. Like the summer of last year, we actually still live in our fifth wheel. We're trying to get ready to build our house right now.
Nice.
We just kind of remodeled the 2011 fifth wheel to make it feel like home. So it's like all the interior was redone.
Cool.
And we traveled around all summer and last year and doing projects here and there. And I think that's a big part of it too, is like we're debt free. We're not tied down.
Yeah.
So we bought some property. We have acreage. And that was a lot of it. That was the mindset of I hated living paycheck to paycheck. I hated not knowing if we were going to have enough money. And I think the thing is like when you make more money, you are way more careless with your money.
That's
you
true.
spend things. I got this. You know, it's coming in, whatever. But you also indebt yourself into stuff that you don't need.
Yeah.
You know, and so over time we decided that we didn't like that lifestyle. And so we sold it all and wanted to spend more time with the wife and kids and travel around and just enjoy that
And you were
time.
traveling a ton before, but now you're still traveling quite a bit, but you're doing something you really love when you travel.
Yeah, and it's like, you know what? I can be home for 20 days or so or more, and then obviously through the summer, and then when it comes to hunting season Brian and I have talked about this. It's like I kind of pick and choose it's on me, like how much I want to spend out in the field. If it's up to me, I would spend 365 days a year out in the field,
Yeah,
but it's not plausible with the wife and kids. And so
for sure.
we like, hey, I'll do this hunt. And he's doing the same. He wants to spend more time with his wife and kids. So he'll do this hunt, I'll do this hunt. We'll film it back and forth, whatever. Sometimes we'll go together. But it just, we get that good family time. And I would say that for anybody that's listening is the time that you are home, make it count. Like
Yeah.
taking your kids and spending time with them, helping your wife out.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a huge, huge difference when you're doing those things.
100%.
So
And at the end of the day, when you're old and you're looking back on your life, like, are you really going to? For me, I always had this fear of looking back on my life and having regrets and be like, oh, I wish I had done this. I wish I had tried that. I wish I had done this. And I always like want to be that old guy that has all the cool stories that everybody wants to, like,
right.
remember that time I did, I'd never want to look back on life and be like, man, what if? And like, I don't think when you get to your end of your life, I would rather be in a one-story ranch house with full of stories and mounts on the wall and
Yep.
adventures than in some huge mansion or on a yacht and be like, yeah, I spent 90% of my life grinding for some other company. I don't even
Yep.
remember what I was doing or care.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Exactly. And like, my dad instilled in me is the hunting outdoor side of it. And I'm trying to do the same with my three boys. My oldest, he'll be 9 this year, and next year he'll be able to deer hunt. And so it's
Yeah.
like, I'm getting them out there. They're doing that stuff, and I don't have to force them, which is
Yeah.
nice. The first, like last year and the year before, my oldest, I would have to I wouldn't force him, but I would pull him along. But once we
Yeah.
got out in the field, kid had a blast. Like he never wanted to leave,
Yeah.
and now he's like, they want to go all the time. And so I don't have to do that anymore. Just like my dad did with me. I mean, I begged my dad to go hunt with him. I would say, hey, I'll walk the whole time, which most time I would end up like holding on to the back of his backpack as he drug me up the hill. Or, I mean, there's a few times he'd pack me out. And this is like, I'm like 8 years old.
Yeah.
But I begged my dad to let me go with him. And he did. My dad did everything for us kids,
That's cool.
all through high school sports, everything. I mean, they traveled around. We were like, I was a 4-sport athlete through high school. My brother was the same way. My sister, she didn't do rodeo, but it was like they were doing everything for us. And we're doing the same with our kids. My kids are in football, they're in baseball, they're doing all that stuff. And so it's busy, but also trying to get them out and to learn the outdoors, how to
Yeah.
survive and become independent. And so,
Yeah, that leads like really well into what I was going to ask you, but maybe we'll just go a little deeper, which was like I know that your relationship with your dad is important. I got a chance to meet your dad at Expo last year. He seems like a great dude, and like I know you guys shared that really cool sheep hunt in Idaho,
mhm.
and so it seems like you guys have a really good relationship, which is awesome and something that's really important and a lot not it's not as common these days as maybe it used
Right.
to be. But what's the legacy you want to leave to your three boys?
True. I mean, honestly, to me, I look at my dad and I'm like, my dad's a legend. Nobody knows about my dad, but it's like, to me, the knowledge that he shared with me is, I mean, I take it for granted because I talk to guys that don't come hunt out west or that haven't grown up hunting, and it's like, I don't realize how much he did share with me and teach me until I talk with those guys that they had dads and stuff, but they didn't grow up doing the hunting thing.
Yeah.
And so I want to do the same thing with my kids. I want to teach them how to survive out in the wild and to hunt and to be a good father, to be a good husband. I mean, that stuff's hard, especially I always worry about with my kids now, as they grow up. I mean, I'm not old. I'm 34, and when I was a kid, things are way different than they are now. Like the
Yeah.
things that my 9-year-old has to deal with versus what I had to deal with. I mean, we stayed out till dark. We would come home when the street lights would come on, and
Yep.
and it was like, come home when dinner's ready. My parents were pushing us, like never had to push us outside. We were already out there. Where sometimes now I think that, I mean, you're forcing your kids to go outside.
Yeah.
And so I want to instill in them just the hard work, dedication. Like if you want to do something, figure out how to make it happen. And then obviously the hunting knowledge, I want to give them as much as I can, and just hope that they can follow their dreams too. I mean, I have a passion for hunting, and that's obviously what I'd love to do. Like I said, 365 days a year,
Yeah.
but you have to, to raise a family and to be a good dad and a good husband. I mean, you got to spend the time with them, and I hope, going to church and all that stuff. I hope that I'm setting a good example for them, like my dad did for me.
Yeah,
So,
no. Yeah, for sure. It's my son's getting older. He's 7 now, and it's kind of it's different because for a while they're in that kind of like baby phase, and but then you start to realize like, okay, this kid's growing up. Like I really got to start putting stuff into him, like to teach him how to be a good person and be a good man, and like, what I mean? It's like, and you start to realize like, dude, if I don't teach this kid how to be a man, no one else is going to.
right, exactly. And then, a lot of it too is like I think about as we were growing up, like my parents, they didn't have money, so everything that we used was hand me down. Like we didn't have good equipment. I mean, I didn't have good equipment until probably 4 or 5 years ago. I started every year. I would buy a couple things here and there, whether it was a backpack or clothing or whatever. But I mean, I remember as a 13-year-old kid going out in my snow pants to go on a deer hunt because that's all I had for insulation, or it was waterproof, and it's not even really waterproof. Go out in snow boots or whatever, or like a full Levi jacket and a rifle elk hunt, with my grandpa, and that's still like one of my favorite pictures. I think I'm like 10 or 11 years old, and I'm with my grandpa, and he shot a bull. Like we were chasing these giant elk, and my grandpa was just the type of guy like shooting whatever for meat, and so my dad and them were trying to get him a big bull, and this 5-point comes walking by as my dad and them are trying to locate this big 380 plus bull, and as that 5-point walks by, my grandpa shoots it, and I'm sitting with my grandpa, and in this picture, I have this Levi jacket on next to my grandpa and his flannel on. And that's the thing is, I would say to everybody is, if you don't have good gear, it doesn't matter. Go get it done still. Like, I don't know how many elk my dad has killed in a pair of Levi's and a t-shirt. And that's no joke. Like, time and time again, and just, I hope I can instill that with my kids as well, is you may not have the best stuff, but you can get it done for sure.
For sure. And there's so much stuff like now on social media and whatever, and social media has its positives and negatives, but I feel like a lot of people do actually let little stupid things like that hold them back. Like, oh, I don't have a sick, like, brand new bow, or I don't have like the best boots out there, so I'm not going to go. But I mean, honestly, looking back, on memories, like if you're able to get it done in a Levi's jacket and with like a secondhand bow, like it's probably like that's kind of cooler memory than if you had all this sick gear.
Right. Well, and I think too is we took every opportunity we could to go hunt, whether it was antelope hunting or like picking up a rifle cow tag or whatever. I mean, one, putting meat in the freezer, but two, just giving yourself an opportunity to gain experiences. You listen to guys like Sam Davis, and I mean, the guy's a killer, and you go for you listen to him.
Dude, that dude straight up kills some big stuff.
I mean, I think you have an advantage when you grow up in like Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming your whole life. Like
so
you
lucky.
figure it out. Most guys, if they have a passion for it, they're gonna figure out how to put stuff on the ground.
And you have like access to horses and all that good stuff.
That's the thing is like put as many tags in your pocket as you can every year. And give yourself those experiences, and every time you go out, you're gonna learn something new. I mean, even to this day, we still learn something new every time.
Yeah.
And so I'm always documenting. Like I have on my phone, I have this giant list of when I go to areas, I write down what the deer were doing, or what the wind was doing, thermals, all that stuff. Like I always document that stuff, so I have it. I know what it's doing, and it just it grows my knowledge of the hunt and how to hunt.
Just getting better.
Right. Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people too, you got to play the game. Like so you guys got sheep tags, I guess that was last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, but I personally know guys who don't even put in for stuff because they're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I'll never draw that. So yeah,
Right.
you definitely will never draw it if you don't put in for it.
Yep.
Like there's still a chance you could draw it. Or guys who like think, because of whatever they may be listening to or whatever, like they think they got to rack up like 10 points and go to
Right.
like the best antelope unit in Wyoming for their first hunt. It's like, dude, like me personally, I'm going out this year to Wyoming. I'm hunting a 0 100% draw unit. I'm gonna go out there and kill an antelope. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing it, and I don't care. So like you just got to get out there and do it.
Absolutely. Like, if you're waiting on points and stuff, like you're gonna wait forever. I mean, I know guys that have 17 or 18 elk points, say in like Utah, and they still can't draw. And the point creep every year it goes up and up, and it's like where there's obviously it gets harder for a non-resident, but as a resident of like Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, I mean, you can go out and you can put 5 or 6 tags in your pocket every year,
Yeah.
and so take advantage of that. Go do it. Go shoot an antelope doe with your bow, or get those whitetail doe tags or whatever. Just
Yeah.
anything that you can help you improve your knowledge and your experience and your abilities.
Absolutely, man.
Just take advantage of those things. But
So I'm gonna go a little deep on you here.
okay.
You mentioned, we're talking about raising boys and stuff. You mentioned church and whatnot. What role does your faith play into your daily life and to your family decisions and even into kind of your long-term life planning?
Yeah, so like my wife and I, like we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so we were married in the temple. Actually, like none of my family is, but for the most part, like my mom's grandma and grandpa are, but from a super young age, like they have nothing against it. They're not churchgoers. It doesn't mean they're not faithful or anything like that, but just as a young age, like I was raised a lot in the church. I had really good friends, that I went to church with. My grandparents I went with all the time, and so we've kind of had that growing up. And then with my boys, like we are helping them to read their scriptures, to go to church, to basically show them like the benefits of when you have that in your life, that good things will happen. I'm not saying everything happens that's going to be good, but it's going to be a challenge. But you gotta have to stay positive, and knowing that just being a good person. I mean that it comes down to that. It's being a good person and a genuine person, and really caring for people. And so that's my wife and I. Like we're pretty active in the church. We both have callings. We go to church every week. We take our boys and you know
Well, you said you both have callings. What does that mean?
so like well actually she doesn't right now because we just moved, but she was like what I would say like, in the church is she was a primary president. So she's over like all the children and all the activities and
Oh, cool.
stuff throughout that ward is what they
So
call
when you
it.
say callings, is like that's like jobs you do in the church, or
Yeah, right, exactly. And so like right now I'm just what they call an activities leader. So every like 2 times a month we meet, and we have like the 8-year-old boys. It's like my son, my oldest, he'll be 9, but we have them, and every 2 weeks we will meet. We have like 10 kids, and
Cool.
we do some type of activity, whether it's learning how to tie knots or building a fire or just service work, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You're kind of just helping teach them the ways, and it's not all exactly like how what you need, or it's not exactly all church related. It's also
practical stuff too.
practical life
Yeah.
stuff, and so we do that, and then just I think having an understanding and a faith that knowing that there's somebody else, something else out there that, I mean, evolution didn't create all of this,
No way.
somehow it
No
was
way.
created, and,
Yeah.
and so we're just trying to, teach our boys and to raise them right and to have faith in their life. And if they do, I mean, good things are going to happen. They
Yeah.
have to trust in the Lord type
For
thing.
sure.
And sometimes it's not always in our hands. And
hmm
so it's just, teaching them to do the right thing, to be honest people, to work hard and to help others. I mean, service goes a long ways, I think a lot further than most people know.
Yeah,
And so that's just kind of what we're doing.
for
But
sure, man. I think a lot of what you get out of life is what you put into others and pour out. Like that is a
Hmm.
great analogy. Like, when water flows into a pond and stays in that pond, it grows stagnant over time.
Hmm.
But when it remains healthy is when it has outflow as well. So if you're continually
Right.
pouring out to others, more good can come in. I feel like the Lord blesses that, and so that's cool. Have you
Yep.
ever found yourself? I know I have on like a tough hunt. Maybe you're missing home a little bit. Things aren't going your way, and having that faith or that relationship with God is something you can lean back on or give you
Oh yeah.
strength.
Oh yeah. All the time. So like, I mean, there's been a couple different instances. There was, I don't know, this was probably 5, maybe 7 years ago. I can't remember. It might have been like, I think it was like 2014. I think I was out on a solo elk hunt,
Mm,
and at the time, like I didn't have a lot of days, and so I mean it was hot, and I'd been playing like 3-on-3 basketball tournaments for 2 days in a row before that. And so I knew I was dehydrated, but I was like, I have one day to go elk hunt. But I guess I had like a couple days, so I was going to stay overnight. And I remember pushing so hard that like my quads, my calves, my hands, everything was cramping
oh
up,
no
and
way!
like my stomach. And I laid on the side of the hill overnight with,
Dang.
I had one little small water bottle because I plan on getting water at the head when I got to the head of the canyon. And I remember laying there, and I didn't have an inReach or anything. And some places I'd have cell phone service, but not all the time. And I remember laying there basically through the night, just like what the heck,
That's gnarly.
And I remember like sitting there praying and doing that stuff. And the next morning, I was able to get up, and I literally, I was able to get off the mountain. And I think a lot of it was just trying to get my body to relax and stuff, but
Mm,
it wasn't all on my own. And then there's other times for sure that it's like there's somebody else there helping you out and
yeah,
getting it
absolutely.
done, and just having that faith. But
Yeah, man. Um, just making a note here. Um, well, that's cool, man. Well, thanks for sharing that stuff. I think you guys are. Sounds like you guys are doing a good job raising your boys, and looking forward to seeing some of the stuff they end up pulling out of the woods.
yeah, they're not
But
perfect by any means. They're wild. They're
oh, of
wild
course,
children.
nobody's perfect.
But you know what? It's like I look back at me as a kid, and I mean I was a handful. I
Oh
grew
yeah,
up,
yeah,
yeah. But I'd rather do that. I'd rather have them be busy and doing that stuff versus just sitting in front of a TV or an iPad all day,
yeah.
and
And
frying
like you
their
said,
brain.
it's a struggle for parents too. I mean, myself, like I'm guilty of this, and I feel guilty, sometimes. But it's like, especially in the summertime, because like they're not in school, so I have to work, and my wife works from home too. But sometimes it's just easy just to be like, all right, just go watch your iPad or whatever, and
Yeah,
like,
right.
but you really got to make a conscious effort to like, and sometimes you just got to,
Right,
sometimes,
right.
and a little bit of TV is not going to hurt anybody. I watched a ton of TV when I was a kid, just to be honest, but yeah, you do have to make that conscious effort to get them outside and do something else or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's not just for them; it's you too, because it's easy as a parent to just be like, all right, just go watch TV.
Yep.
But anyway, what? Okay, so we're getting towards the end here, just because I got another podcast I got to do a little bit later. But you know, Brian is a really cool guy. He's got a big personality,
Hmm.
um, and you're working for Brian, so people don't always maybe get to hear or see as much from you. Although Brian is really good about, like you said, like you get to hunt and you get,
Hmm.
he's not all about him. He's you're in the films too, which is cool. But like is there any, like, what do you want people to know about Brad Hunt that people don't know?
So I mean, honestly, what you see is what you get. Like I'm gonna make jokes. I'm gonna like make fun of you, make fun of me too. Like I love that. That's how my brother and we grew up. You're nonstop bashing each other, but we're also competitive. So I'm like super
Yeah.
competitive, and I'm like making it a point now too, is because like there's a lot of guys that can't keep up with lampers.
Mm.
I just happen to be blessed like I can. So every time we're out, I try and beat lampers to the top. And we hike very similar. We both have long legs, but I don't know, what you see is what you get. Is like I'm a nobody. I'm just a dumb farm kid, as you want to call it. But I love experience. I love to have fun, and I love to
Well,
work
don't
hard too.
discount yourself on that
You know.
dumb farm kid thing though, because like you may say I'm a dumb farm kid, but like you can do things that like
Right.
I wasn't raised around farms, so like I've seen you like do stuff in the field or like fix things or whatever. I'm like, dang, I don't
Right.
know if I could do that. And so
Right.
like those skills are real skills that are like even in this day and age even more rare.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I would say this is my piece of advice to anybody that's getting married. Don't tell your wife you're a handyman.
Like I don't know how to do that.
Hire it out, you know.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Like we save a lot of money. I build a lot of things with my hands. I've worked on cars. I mean, just all those skills that my dad taught me, which I'm trying to teach my kids as well. Just
Yeah.
everyday stuff, and basic knowledge well, I guess stuff that I think is basic knowledge.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah,
yeah,
like my dad was a great dad. He got me into hunting, fishing, everything, but
mm,
he was a business guy,
right.
and he wasn't super handy. Like most stuff, if we had to get something fixed or whatever, like he was getting someone to
Yep.
do it. I think part of that was not that he couldn't do it, but maybe he worked so much during the week he wanted to protect his weekends to hang out with us and whatever. So he
Hmm.
was a great dad, but I just like I can jump a car battery and like change the oil. And that's pretty much it, probably.
Right. Oh yeah. No, and that's there are many benefits to being able to be handy and stuff,
Yeah,
and it's like my wife will come to me and, hey, this is what I want to do, and I mean I built our big kitchen table, I've built like nightstands, I've built
yeah.
beds, just little things like that, but it
I
also
just can't do like I hate the
the
detailed
detail work.
precision that you
See, and I
need. I
love that
hate that.
stuff. Yeah, I love that stuff, and I don't know, I think at the end of it it's just like,
I've been building
guys.
IKEA furniture for the past month, and I want to blow my brains out.
Right. Well, I think too, like, guys that are good at a craft, you take Brian in filmmaking or even, Ryan in hunting and stuff, and it's like the detail that we don't think is like really detailed stuff, it really is.
Hmm.
And the end product that you get out of that, it's a good feeling when you accomplish something like that.
Yeah,
Same with building something or the skills that you have. Like, we take those skills for granted, but when we take advantage of the skills that we have and then you see the end product, like, it's something to be proud of, and that may be knowing how to fix something in the field when you're bow hunting or whatever, or rifle
hmm,
hunting, just sewing or taking care, maybe medical
yeah,
training or whatever it may be, just trying to always further your skills and put more tools in your toolbox, like
yeah,
guys like Mark will say, I mean, you're not going to fix a car with just a screwdriver. You got to have multiple tools in that toolbox,
hmm,
and I don't know, just that's what I'm trying to teach my boys as well, is all these skills and provide for yourself, be independent, be self-sufficient.
cool, man.
And
Yeah,
it's tough. It's not always easy.
yeah, for sure.
But
Well, cool, man. Well, that was a good one, man. I think anything else you wanted to say, or
no, I don't think so. It's been great. It's
yeah,
been great getting to know you and doing some hunts with you and stuff. And
yeah, man.
hopefully
Looking
we
forward to
got some
more.
more. Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a
man.
good
Where
time.
can people find you if they want to check out your social or anything like
So
that?
I have Facebook, but I don't get on there hardly ever. I mean, it's
Yeah.
mostly just shop on Marketplace, but Instagram, Brad_W Hunt is the best place. And, guys, I get questions all the time. Guys ask me certain things, and it's like, I try and answer everybody. I mean, I don't have
Yeah.
a big following or nothing. And then obviously when we do the gritty YouTube stuff, there'll be some
Hmm.
series that I'm on there. So if you
Cool,
haven't, go
man.
check out all the gritty stuff. Releasing a bunch of stuff right now. So,
Sweet.
yep.
Well, yeah, man. Well, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, and hopefully, I think I'll probably see you in a couple days.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be fun. Go shoot and tack.
All right.
So,
All right.
all
Thanks,
right,
brother.
man. Yep. We'll see ya.